Hey, gamers and geeks. There we go. That's better. All right. So, um, I need to defend a little bit because somebody got to me. I shouldn't have let them get under my skin, but I need to. So, um, I have been trying to get a second in-person game going on Thursdays because I was doing a D&D. Well, I still am doing one D&D campaign every 2 weeks. But originally, we were doing it out of um, Kraken Gaming in Llanelli, which is a very cool shop, and I highly recommend you go. But understandably, it's a small business, and they need to make money. And my D&D group wasn't spending enough money while they were there for it to be profitable. Now, I suppose they could have increased our rates and done it that way. And maybe I should have negotiated for that because when we were at Kraken, it was just £3 per person for me to book the table, and and I charged 10 per person, so that basically left me with £7 profit per person, and I had about 7 people, so not too bad. And ideally I don't want to charge them more than that if I can help it. But we needed a new venue because Kraken Game, for all of it's kind of a small place anyway, so we really need somewhere bigger. So now we're using a community hall called St. Barnabas in Llanelli, and we had our first game there yesterday, which was pretty cool. But during the game, one of the posts I put on a group called TTRPG Group Finder UK on Facebook, asking for telling people that I've got this new venue, and because we've got more availability, we can do 2 bi-weekly games instead of just 1, which should be fun. And I kind of have to because, well, to reduce the cost, me and the other DM that were working at Kraken are going in it together. We're both using the space for the same time. So it costs us $12.90 per hour. We've got the place for 3 hours. And between us, there's like, we've got quite a lot of players. But realistically, because it is $12.90 per hour to rent the space, even between the two of us, that's quite a bit more than what we were paying before. So we need to increase our rates. So instead of it being 10 per hour, now my existing players, I've told them that they can still just pay me £10 an hour if they want to, but more is appreciated if you can afford it. But I'm asking new players for 15 per session, which works out to just £5 per hour that you're there. So if I can get 5 players at £5 an hour, and so that's £25 per hour, and I'm paying £12.90. So that means I only go home with £12.10 per person, and I have to drive there 20 minutes from where I live. I obviously have to prep the games. I provide tea and coffee, which I know doesn't cost much, but still. And obviously, this is my job. This is all I do is dungeon mastering. I run a game every day now, whether it's online on Discord or in person at St. Barney's once every week. And I need to make it profitable, or otherwise I can't afford to do it. which would be a shame for John because this works for him. It would be frustrating if it ends up costing me more money than it does him because I can't get the people. But anyway, this person was while I was in game, was commenting on my post saying, "What is it that you do as a dungeon master that makes it worth £15 to play when you can play when people play for free, when dungeon masters do it for free?" And I kept trying to explain that, well, this is my job. I do this full time. As a result, I dedicate all my time to this, to building my world and developing my game and preparing my campaigns, and building my business. And that wasn't good enough, apparently. So I mentioned that I also, perhaps in part to the fact that I am ADHD and ASD, that I'm on the autism spectrum, that I've always been very good at creating these worlds in my head. That I've got a good imagination, and I think that's apparent in my games and the way that I run my games. And that wasn't good enough either. And telling him that I have a successful Discord server where I play where I run multiple games and people like them, and that people meet up, and basically he said that's worse because those people are your friends and you're charging them money for it. Now, yes, they are my friends. They have become my friends through the playing of D&D. And I do feel bad about charging them, but these people like what I do and want me to succeed and willingly pay the subscription so that I can keep doing it because they're my friends, because they like what I do, because they want me to happy and they want to support me. If people can't play, if there are a couple of people that are playing the game right now that I know what the predicament is and they can't afford it at the moment, so but they're playing anyway because they're great people. But that kind of shoots myself in the foot. I realize I know that filling slots up with people that can't afford to pay is reducing the number of seats available for people who can. But I do. I'm silly. But anyway, if there is a way for me to make enough money to pay the rent, keep the lights on, keep buying food, look after Toby the dog, etc., without having to charge the people playing the games, then awesome. And in fact, I tried setting up, I don't know if it's going to work, but I tried setting up, well, it's definitely not going to work at the moment because I haven't been updating it, but there is another YouTube channel called The Draconic Gateway. There's supposed to be a play-by-post style D&D game, but I do a video for each. It's supposed to be a video each week where I tell people what happens as a result of their actions, and they can comment again on what they're doing, and they have a whole week to do it. The idea is that people can play this even if they don't have a predetermined schedule to play. But I need a lot of people to do it because I need a lot of comments so that triggers the algorithm so that we get a lot of viewers so that I start making money through YouTube and I don't have to charge the players. That's the idea. At the moment, we've only had 3 people interested, and I don't think that's going to be enough people for it to work. And that's part of the reason why I think it's because of the autism thing. But I know I have to make money. I know that time is valuable and I need to be spending my time doing things that help us keep the lights on, keep us fed, etc. So um, I also know that the audience might build over time. So if I keep it up, then I might get it to that trigger point where we've got enough players to comment to generate money. Ideally, what I'd like is for some wealthy benefactor to find the Games and Geekery videos, the Anthony M the DM videos, the Draconian Gateway videos, and give us a bunch of money to hire video editors and graphic designers and help us keep the lights on, so that again I don't have to charge players. And in fact, the my friends that are my recurring players that have featured in several games and are the most entertaining, ideally I'd like to pay them because they're not professional voice actors, but they are helping me earn a living, and they should be getting some money for it instead of me charging them for it. I'm only charging because I can't see another way to do it yet. I've also tried offering my services as a dungeon master to other dungeon masters, writing adventures. And obviously, experienced dungeon masters don't need my help, but people who are just getting into it might need some tips and advice on how to create monsters, might appreciate some custom made adventures written for them and their players. And I can do that. And I've been charging, so far I've only been charging like £100 per one shot type adventure, one quest. But I'd be willing to do more. I'd be more than happy. Yeah, there's also an Anthony M the DM Patreon, which has subscription options where I can create a monster for you every month, or an adventure for you every month, or an entire quest every month, and you pay for it. Basically, you hire my services on retainer, but that hasn't picked up either. I need to build my portfolio and find more. I've got a couple of clients that pay me on a job, on a per job basis, but it's still not enough. And I do private games. But Ellen and I are still struggling. We still need more money, and I can't afford to not charge people to play yet. I can't. One of the other things that he mentioned that bothered me, though, because I honestly feel if you're good at something, you should be making money at it. You should be able to do something you love and make money at it. But he says that he has friends that run games of D&D full time and they don't charge money for it. And I'm thinking, if you're really their friend, then you should be encouraging them to do this for money, to quit whatever crappy job it is that they do on the side to make ends meet and focus entirely on doing what they love and getting paid for it. Honestly, if the people who run games, not just Dungeons and Dragons, but any other tabletop role-playing game or organize any other kind of gaming event, anybody who gets people together and organizes a social event for people should be rewarded for their time and effort. What's wrong with that? If you're making people work for your own entertainment and giving them nothing, that sounds like slavery to me. That sounds like you're taking advantage of people to me. But, you know, what do I know? Um, I'm just a dungeon master who has the audacity to ask people for money to run games that were designed, admittedly, to be run by friends for free. But we all know how difficult it is to convince a group of that unless you're lucky enough to have found a group of friends who are all geeks, who all have the same availability, and who are all as dedicated to the game as you are. It's hard to find. It's hard to run a game like that. It's through D&D, you can find a professional dungeon master and make new friends that are into the same things that you are. It not only it's possible that through Dungeons and Dragons, through the services of a dungeon master, you'll find a group of friends that you can trust for the rest of your life, that you are committed to for the rest of your life. You might even find love. Now, yeah, you can do all that for free, but it's harder. And if somebody is putting in the time and effort to create a game, to hire a location, and take time out of their day to run a D&D game for you, then they should be rewarded for it, especially if you enjoy it. Now, I understand that you have that if you've seen this ad for the first time, you've seen the video of me up on Facebook telling you about my game. You have no idea who I am. You've never seen any of my YouTube videos before. You're not already a part of the Games and Geekery community. You have no idea who I am. You have no idea what my games are. But you can go to the YouTube channel, to the Games and Geekery YouTube channel, and see what my games are like for yourself. I'm even offering to run the first session on the 17th, Thursday the 17th, at St. Barnabas Community Hall in Llanelli. Yeah, that's a plug, I know. For free. Because session 0 should be free. Because that's when you find out, that's when you get to know the DM. That's when you get to learn more about the campaign. That's when you sit down and create your characters together as a group. Unfortunately, it doesn't always go like that. Most of the time, people show up to a session 0 with a character in mind. But what you should be doing, in my opinion, is coming along, finding out more about the campaign, talking to the other people in the party, and working together to create a group of characters that would be adventuring together. But we'll see what happens. But yeah, long story short, the reason why I'm charging so much, £15 an hour, which isn't that much, really. Like I said, I'm only making, out of that £15 an hour, sorry, it's not even £50 an hour, £15 per session. So it's £5 per hour. With 5 people, that would be £25, and I'm only getting to keep half of that. That's £12.10 per hour for 3 hours work. So that comes to $36.30 for 3 hours work. And that's all that I like. I'm sure that those of you who work an 8-hour day make more than that per day. And yeah, I'm only working 3 hours, but I don't, because prior to the session, I need to make sure that I've got everything prepared for it. I design monsters. I come up with magic items, and I don't use all of it in. I may not use all of that in the game that we're running, because the players get to choose where they go and what they do. But I still make all of this stuff for the game at large, ends up being a lot more than 8 hours a day that I work when you add it all up. I love this. I love playing D&D. I love running games of D&D. Well, what I really love, I use D&D because it's a system that most people. It's an easy game to pick up. I've tried. Okay, so I'm going to go off on a tangent a little bit here. I mentioned before that I have ASD and ADHD. I'm ADHD. So sometimes reading a new book, reading a new rule book can be a little difficult. In fact, the way that I've had to read the D&D books is I still find myself flipping through the books and reading a part that I've never read before, there's never entered my head before, because my brain can only pay attention for short, brief moments of time, and the more complicated it is to grasp a concept, the harder it is for me to process it. But what I've been doing ever since I was a kid, really, is creating these fantasy worlds that people can play in. There used to be games of pretend that I played with my cousins, and we'd make puppet shows up on the spot, or I'd play a house at school with the people who were willing to play a house with me. I'd have all kinds of crazy adventures, and I for a long time I thought I wanted to be a writer, but that's horrible. That's a horrible process. I much prefer sitting around a room with people, with friends, and running an adventure together, where I get to tell people what's going on in the world, and they tell me what their characters are doing in that world. I love that. That's I was doing it a long time via play-by-post games before we picked up Dungeons and Dragons and started playing that, 5e specifically. But yeah, it's just frustrating. It's now, some of those of you who have watched this so far and are wondering, well, why don't I just get a normal job? Why can't I do what other people do and work 9 to 5 as well, and then just do D&D as a hobby for people? Because another side effect of my ADHD is I don't like lying, and a lot of modern jobs require you to lie to your customers to their face. And the more I learn about, I've worked in customer service, I've worked in sales, I've worked in marketing, I've worked in call centers. They require you to put on a mask and be somebody you're not. And I don't like that. I don't like finding out that my bosses are assholes. And at the end of and I have trouble communicating and getting along with neurotypical people. We don't speak the same language. Now, part of me agrees with you that I should find a regular job, but not necessarily to make my main form of income. That I should go back to work with the intention of working my way, ingratiating myself enough with the management to be able to run Dungeons and Dragons and be paid for it by my employer to run team building games of Dungeons and Dragons. But having said that, I know very well that that I have a hard enough time getting my casual players to work together as a team, never mind corporate players. And also, I would have to do a lot of jiggery fuckery to climb up the ladder. There's other factors as well, including the fact that I'm the one who drives out of Ellen and I need to be able to get her to work and back. So if I had a job, we'd have to jiggle around my schedule to make sure that I'm always available to collect Ellen from work and pick Ellen up from work. I would not be able to work when she was at work. And if we were both at work at the same time, then Toby, my my adorable but reactive little dog, would be being left at home almost all day every day, which I know is normal for a lot of pets are stuck at home on their own all day every day. But I don't. He's got issues, and I don't think I could do that. That would feel I would feel extremely guilty doing that, especially when I can do this. When I can run Games and Geekery, I just need time and help, and I need a bit more. I need to figure out some more ways to generate revenue trickles so that and over time turn those trickles into torrents and phase out so that way I don't have to charge my players anymore, and instead I can rely on those other trickles, whether it be from merchandise from merchandising like t-shirts and stickers and stuff, or from YouTube revenue or TikTok revenue or commission work or whatever. Yeah. Now I don't want to do like a semi-scripted and rehearsed game like what's it called, Critical Role and stuff like that. And I know, some people will argue that it's not scripted, but it kind of is, because these people have worked together so much that they know that they're professional voice actors. They get paid to do this, and yes, they're playing D&D, but they're not just players like my players. Although my players are great, I love them, and yeah, if I could, I would definitely be running. I would definitely have at least one game that was making us enough money through alternative sources where I could actually pay them for playing in it, but I can't yet. So yeah. So why do I charge £15 per session for an in-person session? Mostly because of the cost and inconvenience, and because this is my full-time job and I need to make money doing it. Otherwise, it's not worth doing it. I may as well continue running the online D&D games if I can't run the in-person games. And I have to give props to Kraken Gaming, because even though we can't play there anymore, I wouldn't even be doing live and in-person games if it weren't for Kraken. They approached me. They found out about the D&D, about the gaming. So Games and Geekery, I may have mentioned this before, but this is the first time you caught one of these videos. I'm going to say it again. Games and Geekery started because I moved down to Kidwelly, which is a small town between two large towns, pretty much. Well, there's lots of small towns in the area. But in Carmarthenshire, Wales, there's two biggish towns, Llanelli and Carmarthen, and then everything else is sort of small. But I moved to the area and I needed to find friends. And the idea of going to a pub and working my way through conversations about politics and football, both of which bore the fuck out of me. I can't stand talking about football and politics and the standard conversations that people have in bars. I want to spend my time talking about games and geekery. So I started Games and Geekery as a board game and card game club. And that went pretty well. We were meeting up every Monday. But even then, I knew I had to find some way to monetize it, because because yeah, I'm because otherwise it's just gonna it's just a it's not sustainable if it doesn't make money. Um, or if I don't make at least enough money as it, because we did it at a pub, so I would have to. Well, I wouldn't have to, but I felt obligated to buy drinks and food while I was there, and um, that's how I met Ellen actually, was through Games and Geekery. But then, and I was making my money mostly through odd jobbing at the time because I saw a need in the area and I filled it, and it was really difficult to find anything steady and normal in the neighborhood. So that's what I was doing. And then COVID happened, and I couldn't go to people's houses anymore, and so I started running D&D online, and it sort of blew up from there. Like, I was doing very well during COVID, and I lost some regulars after after everybody went back to work, but it's remained sort of steady, not making as much money as I did during COVID, but it's sort of steady. But yeah. I need help. I need help to make this work. And I'm literally playing D&D every day. Originally, I kept Thursdays and Saturdays free, so I had days off, but now I don't have any days off. I'm doing this all the time. And partly because I'm a softie and I'm not charging all of my friends for the privilege of paying, I'm not making as much money as I should. And it's partly because I'm also still not really charging what my time is worth. I'm undervaluing myself, and I'm aware of this. But it doesn't help that you get people like this chap on Facebook that was doing his very best to make me feel like shit for asking for money at all. But yeah, I think that's pretty much all I wanted to say. That's vent over. If you stumble across this video and happen to have watched all the way to the end, awesome. I didn't put links to my other YouTube channels because I was just venting. But if you would be so kind as to look up Games and Geekery and subscribe and check out the D&D games that I play and see if you would like to join the games, please do. If you happen to live in Llanelli or somewhere else in Carmarthenshire and would like to join the new Thursday games starting on the 17th of August and going every 2 weeks after that, message me, let me know that you're interested. There's also a Games and Geekery website, gamesandgeekery.com, not and geekery, but gamesandgeekery.com. And there's another YouTube channel called Draconian Gateway, and if I get more people interested and posting their character bios on that, then may start doing that again too. Yeah. If yeah, check out what I'm doing, and if you like what I'm doing and would want to see me succeed in doing more of it, then any help would be appreciated. Even if you can't support me financially, liking, sharing, subscribing, commenting would all help. And of course, telling your friends about me who you think would be interested in either playing D&D online or in person, or having role-play game content created for them. Let me know what I can do to help you run your games better. I'll be happy to help, especially if it helps me to keep doing this. But in the meantime, no matter what role you play, have a good game.